The waters of Trinidad and Tobago, biologically rich, extremely varied, teeming with life, made up of coral reefs, mangrove swamps, seagrass beds, mud flats, open ocean, sparkling, majestic, ever-changing. Our people depend on the resources provided by our coastal and marine environments for their survival and well-being in many ways. These waters and the way of life they support are under attack. One of the greatest threats to this rich biodiversity is from marine invasive alien species, simply called marine IAS. These are non-native species which, when introduced into our waters, cause some type of harm by consuming local species, competing for food or space, and have a negative impact on the economy. In the process, they threaten coastal infrastructure, human health, and marine industries such as trade, fishing, and tourism. The Asian green mussel Perna viridis, a large bivalve native to the Indian and Pacific Oceans, is notorious for clogging of intake water channels and cooling systems of industrial plants and displacing native flora and fauna. The introduction in the Atlantic region of the beautiful Indo-Pacific red lionfish, Pterois volitans, is attributed to aquarium releases. The lionfish, with its brown and white stripes, rows of sharp venomous spines, voracious appetite, and few predators, can become the terror of our reefs, as it has become for the rest of the Caribbean. What is being done about these invasions in the Caribbean? A regional project mitigating the threat of invasive alien species in the insular Caribbean, the MITIASIC project, has been introduced, as the project manager explains.
Invasive alien species is not a new problem. It's a very old problem, but with increasing trade, travel, tourism, it's now becoming a far more important problem, not only for us in the Caribbean, but throughout the entire world. This project has 5 major components. The project sought to first establish a regional strategy and build a regional network, and the project has over 22 international and regional partners working on it to achieve these objectives. At the national level, there are also many partners working to achieve the level at the national level. The regional strategy has 3 components: specific strategies and actions to deal with marine invasive, terrestrial invasives, and freshwater invasives. In respect to the marine invasive, some of the successes that we've had at the regional level, we've built capacity in the participating countries in terms of conducting risk assessments. With increasing trade and travel and tourism, we are going to be having more and more marine invasives coming in. We have built the capacity in the region to identify some of the potential threats that are existing and to put systems in place to deal with these before they even arrive.
Within the MITIASIC project, a national pilot project, the management and control of the marine invasive Perna viridis in Trinidad and Tobago examines the impacts this mussel has had more than 20 years after its introduction.
The project on the green mussel, Perna viridis, was started in late 2010, and at that time, the green mussel was the only known marine invasive species in Trinidad and Tobago. One of the objectives of this project was to conduct an ecological assessment, examining the current distribution patterns of this green mussel, as well as looking at the organisms associated with it from known habitats, such as pier pilings, mangrove prop roots, and mussel beds. This mussel clogs the seawater cooling systems of industrial plants, which can reduce their efficiency and so increase the operational costs to the industry as a whole. The second objective of this project was to identify the economic costs of controlling this green mussel along with other fouling organisms of seawater cooling systems of industrial plants in Trinidad. The third objective is to raise the level of awareness and education among the varied stakeholders who come from industry, academia, government agencies, as well as the general public. The IMA has done this through workshops, seminars, as well as educational talks, dissemination of information through brochures, posters, and articles in the newspapers.
The green mussel was first observed in Trinidad at Point Lisas in 1990. Because of its rapid dispersal, growth rate, and the ability to reproduce within the first 2 months of its life, within 3 years, the mussel settled on pier pilings, rocky outcrops, buoy moorings, on submerged wrecks, and built itself into mussel beds at Claxton Bay and Cedros. Intense settlement occurred on prop roots of red mangroves, sometimes clustering out of the water, displacing the local flora and fauna. Today, the population of the green mussel is on the decline, and the distribution is still largely restricted to the west coast. However, with a very recent intrusion on the north coast of Maracas Bay, Tyrico Bay, and Las Cuevas Bay, it is absent from Tobago. The main habitat of the green mussel is pier pilings, particularly those at port facilities. Local fauna associated with the green mussel are dominated by sponges, barnacles, oysters, and local mussels. Since its introduction into Trinidad, the green mussel has spread throughout the Atlantic region to Venezuela, Margarita Islands, Jamaica, Florida and Georgia in the US, Cuba, and almost 20 years later, Colombia. The biggest impact of the green mussel in Trinidad has been an economic one, clogging intake channels and water cooling systems of industrial plants which utilize seawater. These green mussels and other fouling organisms, such as barnacles, algae, local mussels and shipworms, are a continual problem for these companies which produce desalinated water and electricity, and a wide range of petrochemicals, such as methanol, urea, ammonia, all vital to our economy. In the process, sediment tanks, media filters, membranes, pumps, intake screens, and intake pipes are damaged or compromised. At the height of the Perna viridis invasion, during the period 1990 to 2003, the average annual cost per firm for controlling this green mussel was $240,000 US. Today, the annual cost of controlling all fouling organisms, including the green mussel, is approximately $1.2 million US. The ability of the green mussel to survive extremes of environmental conditions, including prolonged biocide dosing, has contributed to their extraordinary success as a fouling species. Management strategies by these industrial firms to prevent fouling organisms include greater routine maintenance, retrofitting equipment, and the increasing use of chemicals, namely oxidizing biocides. Apart from Perna viridis, the second known and recently introduced marine IAS in Trinidad and Tobago is the lionfish. Like the green mussel, the lionfish is also from the Indo-Pacific region. It was first captured in Castara, Tobago in July 2012 and at Shorder on the north coast of Trinidad in July 2013, completing the spread of the lionfish throughout the Caribbean. It is still early days yet, but if left unchecked, the lionfish can disrupt the ecological balance and overall health of our reef systems, as well as negatively impacting on the livelihood of those dependent on reef tourism and reef fisheries. The Institute of Marine Affairs, along with other major agencies, have become the driving force for the Lionfish Initiative. 3 major initiatives to deal with the lionfish have been established. Educational materials have been directed to the general public and primary and secondary schools through newspaper articles, seminars, and exhibitions. The lionfish has venomous spines, and its handling and removal from our reefs requires special care. The more hands to do so, the better. To date, the IMA has had 6 workshops, 3 in Tobago and 3 in Trinidad, with over 100 participants. More than 25 persons have been trained to capture and handle the lionfish. Ship's ballast water required for the vessel's maneuverability and stability provides a major pathway for the introduction of marine invasive alien species. 7,000 to 10,000 different species of marine microbes, plants and animals globally can be transferred each day through ballast water. If conditions are suitable, some of these introduced species can become invasive. The Caribbean Sea, with its heavy maritime traffic and the 80-kilometer-long Panama Canal currently being expanded, which joins the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, provides significant and permanent pathways for marine invasive species. In the wider Caribbean region, 118 marine IAS have been recorded so far. The International Maritime Organization, IMO, a specialized United Nations agency charged with responsibility for safety and security of shipping and the prevention of marine pollution, has developed initiatives to deal with the threats of marine IAS.
Under the Globalis Partnership Program, the International Maritime Organization selected Trinidad and Tobago as the lead partner in country. The role of the lead partner in country is to develop and implement a national ballast water management strategy. In 2012, Trinidad and Tobago took a major step in the fight against marine IAS by ratifying the Ballast Water Management Convention.
The work of the National Task Force is to ensure systems and frameworks are put in place to give full and complete effect to the provisions of the Ballast Water Management Convention. The Maritime Services Division of the Ministry of Transport, being the lead agency for the implementation of the Ballast Water Convention, is not alone in their efforts. They are also assisted by other agencies, namely the Tobago House of Assembly, the Environmental Management Agency, the Shipping Association of Trinidad and Tobago, the Institute of Marine Affairs, the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, the University of the West Indies, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, the Port Health Department, the Fisheries Division, the Port of Port of Spain, and the Port of Point Lisas.
The way forward for Trinidad and Tobago is the implementation of the National Strategy and Action Plan, finalization of the ballast water legislation to give effect to the International Convention ratified in 2012.
Another significant pathway for marine IAS is from biofouling. These are organisms which settle on the hulls of ships and recreational vessels. Trinidad and Tobago has a thriving yachting industry, vital to the economy and centered in the northwestern peninsula of Trinidad. The Mitiasic Project and the Institute of Marine Affairs have engaged these stakeholders to bring awareness of the introduction of marine IAS from biofouling. It is important to be aware of and understand how marine IAS impact on our lives, livelihoods, economy, and environment. Such understanding can assist in determining our roles in preventing the introduction of IAS and managing them once they have arrived. A key component of all the initiatives, the Mitiasic Project, the Lionfish Initiative, and the Globalis Program, has been to engage these stakeholders. Dialogue amongst different sectors is a good opportunity to exchange information and allow for cross-fertilization and integration of ideas, proposals, and strengths. Understanding of the needs and views can lead to integrated agendas supported by the different sectors to deal with the ever-increasing threat from the marine IAS. The green mussel and the lionfish are the only two marine invasive alien species known in Trinidad and Tobago. Our marine and coastal environments are deep and wide with no geographic borders, and it's challenging to identify all such introductions. You can help. Report any sightings of the green mussel and the lionfish. This will help us to continue to track their spread. Your assistance will go a long way in the fight against the threat of marine invasive alien species.